Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I want to talk about episode 20's trailer, and I really want to talk about that Rick CRM connection and why I do think it's happening right now. I actually do think we're probably going to get into this here right away. Like, I think it's going to be introduced here in episode 20, and then I think going into 21 and 22, that's where some Rick reveals might happen. I mean, it's very possible that the CRM plot ends up being a bigger deal because of the fact that people are going missing, right? And so maybe they're aware of the Civic Republic, but maybe the actual reveal of that's where Rick went doesn't happen until a little bit later on. But anyways, make sure to be aware that this video will contain spoilers for episode 19, which is the latest episode that just aired. As well, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, but let's actually talk about the episode 20 trailer. So I guess actually before we get into the episode 20 trailer, because I do want to focus a lot on obviously what was said or just the scenes that we see, because it does show Lance and Carol seemingly going after, or I guess Lance is leading them to a location where maybe these people are going missing, because we've been hearing for a very long time, like basically since we got to the Commonwealth, right? Or at least the main characters went to the Commonwealth, like people have been going missing. People are just disappearing and there's no explanation for it. It's constantly brought up in almost every episode. If it's not brought up or it's not a big focus, I mean, I guess it would just be brought up. Like usually there's just like a line said, like Connie will say something or a random character will say something like, well, what about our people disappearing? Like it'll just be one line sort of thing. So obviously this is a big deal here, right? Like this is something that they just can't ignore. Imagine the show ends and they never address this. There's clearly a reason for this. And so I wanted to talk about the Civic Republic here. I want to talk about the stuff we got in the trailer and why I do think the CRM connection here makes so much sense to happen now, because I've been seeing a lot of comments of people saying, well, no, like you keep saying CRM, but it's never going to happen, this and that. I mean, first of all, so many people said that about the Rick Grimes movies, but it wasn't just about the movies. People were saying that Andrew Lincoln's done. They don't want to do it anymore. And here we go. They announce a television show. Like it's so different too. You know, they were very silent on the Rick Grimes movies. And then what we learned why is because they were, they're creating a television show here and they were trying to figure out the best way to do it. With the Civic Republic plot, that is totally different because we have been getting signs for a very, very long time. There's actually been a lot of them just this season alone. The helicopter and the whole A and B thing has really been a thing throughout the entire series, and in the very first episode, Rick saw a helicopter. That was never explained. I know people said that there's some connection there with the governor's helicopter. I don't think so. I mean, honestly, it was just sort of a random helicopter, so maybe it was something else. Like it can be whatever you want it to be, right? Obviously, when they first created that helicopter, or they had that, in the scene, that wasn't intended to be the Civic Republic, although they may have came up with that because maybe that was intended for it to be like an Easter egg or a weird thing for the future, right? Like it's possible. And obviously the A stuff, we've seen it on train cars and stuff like that. So it's been a thing for a very long time. Heath was taken away, right? There was the whole PPP card. Like what was that about? It was confirmed pretty much right away. I think it was in season 8, actually, it was confirmed that Jadis took Heath. You combine that with a lot of what Jadis was trying to do in season 8 alone. She was trying to give away Negan, right? Remember, Negan was actually captured. She was trying to give him away to the Civic Republic to get resources. This has been a storyline for a very long time. Gabriel, too. Same thing happened in season 9. Jadis was trying to give Gabriel away. There's been this whole thing for such a long time here. It makes so much sense. And then obviously Rick, that whole thing there, and that's Jadis left at that point. It's interesting, I will say that Jadis left, though I think for her at that point, she kind of had to leave, right? There was a lot of stuff happening with her, and yeah, she left the show, and she's likely going to be in that first season of the Rick and Michonne TV show, right? So there's been a thing here for a very long time. Like the CRM have been taking people. They haven't been taking people in Alexandria for quite a while because Jadis wasn't there, right? Although I do think Jadis is watching over them. I do think that, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Jadis knows what's happening, and I do think there's probably a connection there for why Daryl ends up in France. Because I think technically Daryl was probably taken away. If you think about it, these people are going missing. I think to a lot of the people in Alexandria, Daryl may be going missing, right? Like, I wonder if with certain people, that's what they do, right? I mean, it could be a special case with Daryl, but like maybe they do take people and they do just sort of drop them off in certain places. But maybe people who are like actual leaders, they'll drop them off in certain places like that to test them, right? I could totally see that happening with Daryl, and that could be why he ends up over there. If you remember, the helicopter was included or reintroduced this season in the very final season here, right? In the opening credit scene. That was there in season 9 with Rick when Rick was taken away or whatever. And then in season 10, it was gone. And then it came back here for season 11, which is a little interesting because there's been really no plot here that has sort of hinted at that besides, I guess people going missing and whatnot. If you remember, I think it was episode 10, or yeah, I think it was in episode 10, the very, very ending there with Rosita. we do see what looks like a CRM pilot, like this X-ray picture or whatever. Like there looks like there's a lot of things here. Obviously, there's this big rebellion happening here with some Commonwealth troopers and whatnot. And so, yeah, I do think that they've been slowly teasing us with a lot of this stuff right here. I mean, like Lance has been saying quite a bit of stuff. He literally just said pretty recently, right, that certain stabilizing factors that they have, certain alliances that they have, basically if something happens to him, there could be some problems there. So he knows something. There's been a lot of lines of dialogue with Lance that he's been teasing that there's some sort of alliance or something out there that is very mysterious that he obviously knows a lot more about. If you actually look at Scott Gimple's quote, you look at what he said when he was asked a year ago, I believe it was in October of 2021. This was after, I guess, season 11A, but he was asked, like, are the CRM aware of the Commonwealth? And Gimple said, we will see the answer to that question. And then afterwards, he was sort of like, oh, I guess that sort of spoils it a little bit. And you can tell, just go watch the clip. When he says that, he's very embarrassed. Like he knew that saying that, like people were going to remember that quote, because I remember that quote. So far, we haven't seen the answer to that question here. And remember, he said, we will see the answer to that question here during the last season here. So it's, to me, that was pretty spoilery, but obviously he hasn't really talked about that in a long time, and I'm sure he's hoping people are just going to forget about it. But I think with all of this proof here, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think we should all get excited. I think they're going there, and I think they're going to go all out here, because I think this is just what it is. I think this is the plot going into the spinoffs, into what's happening with the Daryl show, with Dead City, and with the Rick and Michonne television show. I think it just makes sense that they're introducing this stuff here. I don't think it's that crazy to think. I mean, they have to go all out here with the last episodes. I don't view it as like that's set up for the spinoffs. To me, no, they're introducing something that has been, sort of a plot on the show for a very long time. And they're introducing it while ending the Commonwealth arc. They're setting up some stuff with like, the Rick show and the fact that he's surviving, all the other spinoffs, but they're also closing out that arc because they did find out that Rick's alive. And I think people should just get excited about this, because I do think this is where they're going. And yeah, I guess you could be disappointed if they don't go here, but again, be disappointed about it then, right? Because I think that would be such an epic failure if there's no CRM mentioned at all in the last 8 episodes. I will rant. I will be so pissed off. But I do think we are going to see them. Like, I do think they actually are going to get into it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, honestly, what I would like personally is for the CRM to actually be there, to see the troops, to see the helicopters, and for them to actually be sort of dealing with them and dealing with all of that here in the next however long, or I guess couple of episodes, 5 more episodes left, right? So like, I would prefer that. I think that'd be really cool, because we see in the trailer, right, people are going missing. There's a lot of people going missing. Judith went missing. Rosita's missing. There probably is a lot of other characters as well. There could be Ezekiel, Gabriel. I don't know who exactly has went missing, but it's very possible that like a lot of people have went missing, almost the entire group. And then, because we do see Carol almost get captured, but she actually fights her way out of it. Daryl, I assume, is also probably dealing with somebody. And I remember like a behind the scenes trailer that dropped like a long time ago. I remember there being a scene with Daryl sort of fighting somebody. It looked like some sort of soldier with like a black suit. And at that point, I believed it was someone from the Commonwealth, or maybe even like Lance's people. But based off of where we're at now in this story, I think it's one of those people that took, Rosita away and everyone else away. And I think he's going to question them. And I think there could be some mysterious stuff here. So episode 20, I'm very, very excited about. The missing people plot obviously has been going on for a long time in the Walking Dead universe. We do see Lance and Carol in the trailer. They're actually, Lance obviously I think knows a lot more about this. And I do think that's where he's going. He's taking Carol to this location where he thinks that they're being taken to, like all the people going missing. And at this point, this is sort of Lance's last chance, I would say, for survival, because Pamela Milton's done with him. I think she's just pretty much going to keep him in there for forever. I honestly don't see Lance coming out at any point. And so I see, Daryl and Carol breaking him out of there as really his last chance of redemption. And we'll see if he can do that. I don't know, like, could he ever join our group? Maybe. But he's just such a, I don't know, kind of character that I just don't see him being able to just be sort of normal, right? There's just kind of no way, unless he can just let go of trying to take over the world. But, he's just that type of character. I don't really see that ever ending there. And, there is a question as well. Like I mentioned before with Daryl going missing, like maybe that does happen. Probably not at the end of The Walking Dead here. That'll probably happen maybe in the first episode of the spinoff. But like, what about Herschel and Annie? I know this has been talked about for a long time now. Like, people have asked me about this quite a bit. Like, what if Herschel or Annie get taken away? And so that's why Maggie and Negan are together in their spinoff. And, you know, up until really this last episode here and the trailer for episode 20, where we do see more people being taken away, I thought, no, that's not possible. But I actually do wonder now if that's what it is, right? I wonder if they were taken away, and so that's why they're just more involved with it now, because their people were taken away. They got to go find them. And it makes a lot of sense, because again, before I didn't really believe this too much, but now that we got this latest episode here where Judith and a lot of other characters were taken away now, I'm really starting to believe this. And I think if you want more proof that the CRM are more involved here, I did see this here from Insider. Kristen Acuna, who obviously writes a lot of these articles here for Insider, she's the source for this, so I'll leave a link down below in the description. She actually talks about this idea quite a bit, and yeah, definitely I really recommend checking it out. But there's one part in her article where she does actually point out that there are 2 oil reserves located in Ohio, and that's where the Commonwealth is. So to me, that really, I think, hints at the fact that, yeah, they're around and they're definitely aware of each other. Like, could you imagine if they weren't aware of each other? There's a lot of like plot threads that have sort of been ignored over the years as well. Jadis's disappearance, like what happened with her? Could we see Jadis in the next couple of episodes? I don't know about that, maybe. But I just think looking at all of this here, looking at the episode 20 trailer, looking at all the evidence that we got here, and the fact that we have 5 more episodes left, I just think it makes sense for the CRM to be here. If it's not the CRM, like, what is it then, right? Like, what is it? Because a lot of people will say, you always think this, you always think this. And I mean, for the most part, I end up sort of being right, you know, in terms of the bigger ideas. Like, I was always saying that, like, Andrew Lincoln's not done with Rick. Like, for sure, he's going to come back as Rick. I know there was something off a little bit, I guess, with the movie and just, I guess, the quietness surrounding all of that. But there's no way he's just done. Like, there could have been a financial issue. But obviously they worked it all out, and we know why. And so I do think with the Civic Republic here, that's exactly where they're going, because this is the future of the Walking Dead universe. That's why they're expanding and making it bigger. And we got 5 more episodes left here, so I think that's exactly where they're going. But I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Post your predictions for episode 20. And yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.